The end of the game, what happened? There's a lot blown up on Twitter about Angel Reese following you around, pointing to her ring finger and taunting you.
Caitlin Clark has taken the basketball world by storm, breaking records, filling arenas, and becoming one of the biggest names in the WNBA. But just when fans thought her all-star spot was guaranteed, something surprising happened. Many WNBA players didn't vote for her. Some even called it a betrayal. Now Caitlin is finally speaking out, and her reaction might not be what you expected. So, what really happened at the All-Star vote? Join us as we uncover Caitlin's reaction to WNBA players who betrayed her in the All-Star vote. Caitlin Clark. All-Star vote. Caitlin Clark is only in her second season in the WNBA, but she's already achieved something huge. She's been officially named a team captain for the 2025 WNBA All-Star Game. And not just anywhere. The game will be played in her hometown, Indianapolis. That's a big deal. It shows just how famous and influential she's become. Millions of new fans are watching women's basketball now, all because of her. So, at first glance, it looks like a dream come true. Like the league is finally recognizing its biggest new star and giving her the respect she's earned. But here's the thing. Sometimes the story on the surface isn't the full story. Most news outlets will just stop there, celebrating the headline, Caitlin Clark, named All-Star Captain in her hometown. Sounds perfect, right? But what if we told you this moment of glory is actually surrounded by a cloud of disrespect? What if behind all the cheering and applause, there's a much more painful reality, a betrayal? Not from fans, not from critics, but from her fellow WNBA players. Yes, the same players who are now playing in packed arenas and flying on chartered planes, benefits that came in large part thanks to the attention and money Caitlin brought to the league. Instead of showing appreciation, these players sent Caitlin a message. And it wasn't one of support. It was a message that stings. A message that says, we don't respect you like the world does. And the proof? It's all in the voting numbers. When you break them down, the story changes completely. And tonight, we're laying it all out. Let's take a close look at how all-star voting works in the WNBA. The votes come from three groups: the fans, the media, and the players themselves. Each group gets a certain amount of influence on the final results. Let's start with the fans. This is where Caitlin Clark's popularity is simply off the charts. She didn't just get a lot of support, she crushed the all-time record. Nearly 1.3 million fans voted for her. That's not just a win, it's a landslide. The people who pay to see the games, who tune in every week, who are helping grow the league like never before, they made it clear. To them, Caitlin Clark is the #1 guard in the WNBA. No debate. End of story. Next up is the media, the professionals who analyze every game, study the stats, and know the sport inside and out. Even though Caitlin's had some ups and downs this season, they still ranked her as the third best guard in the entire league. That's a huge compliment coming from experts who focus on performance, not just fame. But then comes the part that turns this celebration into something much darker: the player vote. These are Caitlin's fellow athletes, the ones she battles on the court every night. You'd expect them to recognize her impact, to respect what she's brought to the league, but instead, they voted her 9th. Yes, 9th best guard in the WNBA. Think about that. The fans said she's #1. The experts said she's #3. But the players, her own peers, barely put her in the top 10. That's not just surprising. It feels intentional. It feels personal. It feels like a message. Some might say, well, maybe that's just how they see her performance. But does that really explain such a huge gap? Well, let's take a closer look at exactly what happened, what the numbers really mean, and how Caitlin Clark is responding to this quiet, but very clear, betrayal from the people she shares the court with. Jealousy in the ranks. When the full breakdown of the All-Star votes was made public, it didn't just raise eyebrows, it set off alarms across the entire sports world. And the reaction wasn't quiet. Some of the most respected and experienced voices in basketball immediately spoke out, loudly and clearly. Let's begin with a true legend, Dick Vitale, a veteran broadcaster with ESPN. This man has seen decades of basketball. He's watched generations of players rise and fall. So when he speaks, people listen. And what did he say after seeing how Caitlin Clark was ranked? He didn't hold back. He called it, and these are his exact words, absolutely pure jealousy. According to Vitale, there's just no other way to explain why Clark, one of the most talked about athletes in women's sports, would be voted only the 9th best guard by other WNBA players. He believes that someday, those same players will look back and realize just how much she's done for the league, and how much they've all benefited from her presence. And Vitale's not the only big name calling this out. You've probably seen the video clip. It's been shared everywhere. Charles Barkley, former NBA superstar and now a high-profile TV analyst, didn't stay silent either. In fact, he's been speaking up for over a year now. In a now viral moment, Barkley looked right into the camera and said the WNBA players were being petty for the way they've treated Caitlin Clark. He didn't sugarcoat anything. He said, again, quoting directly, "Y'all should be thanking that girl for getting y'all private charters, all the money, and the visibility she brings into the WNBA." When legends like Dick Vitale and Charles Barkley, two of the biggest voices in basketball media, are saying the exact same thing, you know it's not just some made-up theory. They're saying out loud what millions of fans already feel in their gut. This wasn't just about how she played. This was personal. This was about jealousy. Now, to be fair, not everyone agrees with that view. Some people, especially longtime basketball fans who tend to defend the WNBA's old guard, will quickly say, "Wait a second, this isn't about jealousy. It's only about how she performed on the court." They argue that WNBA players see her game up close and simply judged her based on what they've seen, her flaws, her mistakes, her inexperience. And sure, if we're being honest, Caitlin Clark's season hasn't been perfect. She's had some real challenges. For example, she went through a really rough shooting stretch, at one point missing 22 of her last 23 three-point attempts. That's brutal for any player, let alone one with superstar expectations. And yes, her turnover numbers have raised concern. 5.9 turnovers per game, the most in the entire WNBA, and nearly double the next closest player. So yes, the struggles are real. Nobody's pretending they aren't. But here's the big question. Do those struggles really justify ranking her all the way down at 9th place? Most people would say no, and we have the data to prove it. Because while the players ranked her 9th, the experts and media, people who analyze basketball professionally, ranked her as the 3rd best guard in the league. And those same experts saw the same shooting slump. They saw the same turnovers. But they also saw the bigger picture. Her court vision, her playmaking, her assists, the way she draws defenders and opens up the floor for her teammates, and the energy she brings every night. They saw that she's already making winning plays in just her 2nd season. So, if the players didn't vote based on performance, then what was the real reason behind their choice? Clark effect and tension. To really understand what's going on with this all-star snub, you have to realize something important. This didn't just happen out of nowhere. It's not just one random vote that went sideways. No, this is part of a much bigger and messier story. It's another sign of the tension that has been following Caitlin Clark everywhere she goes. And it's not just from fans or rival teams. It's even showing up inside her own team, the Indiana Fever. Need proof? Just look at what recently happened with veteran WNBA player DeWanna Bonner. She was supposed to be a big deal for the Fever, a star free agent who was brought in to help lead this young and promising team. But instead of making a major impact, her time in Indiana ended in total disaster. It was short, it was stormy, and it ended with the team suddenly cutting her loose. Why did it fall apart so fast? Well, reports say the problem started right from the beginning. The main issue? Bonner wasn't happy being moved to the bench. And why was she benched? because the entire team was being built around Caitlin Clark, a rising superstar whose presence has completely reshaped the team's structure. Bonner didn't like the new setup and made it clear she wanted out. She even asked to be traded and didn't want to return to the team. Now think about that for a moment. A highly respected veteran joins the team and leaves just as fast, not because of her performance, but because she couldn't find her place in a system that revolves around one player. That tells you something. It shows there's real friction happening behind the scenes. It's one example of what can happen when a team starts rebuilding everything around a once-in-a-generation talent, like Clark. So maybe that strange all-star vote, where Clark was left out by the players, wasn't just about basketball. Maybe it was the public tip of a much deeper struggle happening all across the league. A kind of silent resistance to the massive shift Caitlin Clark's arrival has brought with it. But if you want the full picture, you have to go even deeper, because there's something bigger going on here. Something people don't always like to talk about openly. Here's the uncomfortable truth. This whole situation isn't just about player drama or all-star politics. It's also tied to the complex and emotional issues of race and privilege within the WNBA. Let's not dance around it. Caitlin Clark is a white superstar in a league where about 70% of the players are black. That matters, because it changes how everything is seen, from media coverage to public reactions. Some fans and commentators have described the situation like this: that the league's veteran black players are acting like mean girls, or are jealous of the attention Caitlin is getting. But that version of the story leaves out something huge and very real. For years, the WNBA's black stars have been speaking out about being overlooked, underpromoted, and undervalued. They've been putting in the work, showing up and dominating on the court, but not getting the spotlight they deserve. This isn't just a theory. Players have talked about it openly. Kelsey Plum, a white player on the Las Vegas Aces, even admitted she received special treatment early in her career because, in her own words, she was straight and white. She didn't say that to brag. She said it to point out a problem that needs to be fixed. So now, when a new white player like Clark shows up and instantly becomes the face of the league, with non-stop media attention and major brand deals, it reopens those wounds. It brings up years of frustration for players who feel like they've been ignored for far too long. That's why this all-star snub isn't just about Clark being left off a list. It's not just about basketball. It's a moment where sports, culture, race, and history all collide. It's a flashpoint, a sign of something much deeper going on beneath the surface. Yes, there's real disrespect in how the vote played out. But the reasons behind that disrespect are complicated, emotional, and shaped by a long history that's bigger than one player or one season. So, what exactly did Caitlin Clark tell the media? Let's take a look at her statements. Caitlin Clark's reaction. When you first hear Caitlin Clark speak, nothing seems out of the ordinary. She's calm, polite, and professional, just like you'd expect from someone in the spotlight. When reporters ask her about being named an all-star captain, she calls it a cool honor. When they ask if she'll try to bring her Indiana Fever teammates onto her all-star squad, she answers with a smile and says, "Obviously, I'm going to try to get my teammates on my team. Why wouldn't I?" It all sounds pretty normal on the surface. But once you understand what had just happened behind the scenes, that her fellow WNBA players voted her 9th in the rankings, you start to see her words in a very different light. This wasn't just another press conference. It was something much bigger. It was a clear and powerful choice. Instead of lashing out or showing hurt, Caitlin chose not to give the controversy any attention. She didn't mention the vote. She didn't throw shade at the players who clearly snubbed her. She didn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her flustered. No, instead, she kept the spotlight exactly where she wanted it. On the honor of being a captain, on the city of Indianapolis where she'll play, and most importantly, on her teammates. While others were playing petty games, she was showing true leadership. And that choice? It spoke volumes. By staying calm and rising above the drama, she made those who disrespected her look small. She didn't need to clap back with a fiery quote. Her silence said more than anger ever could. Her poise turned the spotlight around and made the snub look even worse. But this isn't just about one player getting overlooked in an all-star vote. It's not just about Caitlin Clark. It's about the deeper story unfolding in the WNBA right now. This vote, this betrayal, was a reflection of a league standing at a critical turning point. Caitlin Clark is, without a doubt, the biggest force of change the WNBA has ever seen. Her arrival has sparked a level of attention and excitement that the league has never experienced before. TV ratings are soaring. Every arena she plays in is packed. The demand is so high that the league even started using charter flights for all teams, something players have wanted for years. This kind of growth is more than just exciting. It's historic, and it will likely lead to much better salaries for every single player when the next league-wide contract is negotiated. But here's the twist. While Caitlin is driving this incredible momentum, some veteran players clearly aren't happy about it. The vote that ranked her 9th wasn't just a number, it was a message, a sign of resistance from those who feel threatened or overlooked. Maybe they think she's getting too much attention too fast. Maybe they feel like the league is forgetting who built it. And this is where things get really complicated. The WNBA now faces a huge challenge of how to celebrate and promote a young superstar like Caitlin Clark without pushing away the veterans who laid the foundation. So, what do you think about Caitlin's reaction to WNBA players who betrayed her in the All-Star vote? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe.